And today, we have decided to talk about edge rusher in the draft to pair with Montez Sweat.
It's pretty obvious that they need somebody on the other side. DeMarcus Walker, Raheem Green, right? Dominique Robinson. These are not answers for a real big boy NFL defense at edge rusher.
And today is the day that edge rushers are speaking at the combine. Mark Grody will have some of it here, but Mark Grody's going to have a ton of it coming up in his 5 o'clock Bears report. We'll also play categories at 3:40. We got a lot more to do today.
Yesterday when we talked to Matt Eberflus, the real one, not honest Matt, but real Matt Eberflus was on this show. We asked him about Javon Dexter, the 3 technique, and he talked about the entirety of the defensive line.
You know, you're always looking to add pieces in the defensive line. So, you know, it's ever changing and ever evolving. So, you know, I've always said you can never have enough defensive linemen. And I'll go to the grave saying that.
It's a weird thing to go to your grave saying, I got to say.
Matt Eberflus on his deathbed. I just needed a rotational edge rusher who could set the edge.
And I'll go to the grave saying that.
I mean, of all the things you could say,
I just needed someone to shoot the A-gap.
I needed one more lineman.
And I'll go to the grave saying that.
Oh, boy. But, you know, it's an interesting class, isn't it? There's no top 5 guys. There's no, like, Bosa or Myles Garrett, like, this is a generational defensive end for
Will
this
Anderson
scheme.
from last year.
No.
Yeah, and I think part of that is some of the exceptional talent at the other positions, especially quarterback. You know, there's really good quarterback prospects, really good receiver prospects, and really good left tackle prospects.
Those are important positions.
So also premium positions. But yes, there is not a Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney-esque prospect in this draft for sure.
You do look, though, and see, like, most mocks or, like, the PFF rankings had, like, 4, maybe 5 first rounders as edge rushers. I saw that the PFF top 200 has 10 edge rushers. So that's like the first 3 rounds. You might see as many as 10. And I find myself wanting a specific style and skill set. So, I mean, we can get to it. It emerges as we go here in the conversation.
So,
who do you like? Who's the best?
Let me just say this. Like, I don't think I like any of them enough to be thrilled with them at 9. So I wanted to just start there. And can I also get one more thing off from that I meant to do earlier in the show? And I'll do it more later as well. But just like, I think there's a chance that they don't end up at 9. And everyone's like, trade down from 9, trade down from 9, trade down from 9. What if they trade with Atlanta for Fields? And part of the trade is swapping 9 and 8. So he actually moves up a spot because we know that they need a receiver. We'll get to more of that later. I know that's a different position, but I'm just not convinced that the Bears are going to be picking at 9 with the second pick of the first round.
All right, first, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, we'll do more on it later.
Because I've seen a lot of mocks where that third receiver, whether it's Neighbors or a Dunze, goes 8.
Correct.
And you're sitting there at 9 going, damn it, we just missed our guy. And then I'd think that they would trade down, which could enable them to take
one of these guys.
And maybe still a receiver. Like if they could get, you know, Keon Coleman. I love Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
You know, but whatever. But like, so yeah, they might not be at 9 either to move up, which we should talk about later, or to move down.
Okay, so I will say this. Dallas Turner, when I was watching, and again, I'm not watching full games for this. I fully admit it. But when I was watching videos last night and this morning, I think the single most impressive individual play that I saw was from Dallas Turner. And it struck me as the type of play that when he gets drafted, a GM would get in front of the local media and say, go see this play.
So what does he do? Is he showing bend and getting around the outside? Is he showing power? What's he showing?
Motor. It's not he beat a first-round pick tackle for a sack. It's not a crazy pass rush move. It's not hand technique. It's a play against Texas. They are on the left hash mark. The ball's on the left hash mark. He is lined up over the right tackle. They run a screen pass to the left. So they run a screen pass to the short side of the field away from him. and 20 to 25 yards down the field on the left sideline. And he was lining up over the right tackle. So he's come across half the field and 20, 25 yards down the field. He makes the tackle and forces a fumble. It's the type of play where, because he sprints up the field on the pass rush, and then it's a screen. So it's like, oh, crap. And so now he's 30 yards away.
Keeps going.
Pursuing the ball carrier.
The heart, the ethic.
The heart,
the
work ethic, all of it.
Got it.
And I think he's going to be the fastest edge rusher at the combine. He's 6'4", 250.
Yeah.
He strikes me as a guy that won't bust.
Well, it's interesting because I think that he's going to end up being the first edge rusher in this draft, but I don't think he's the most polished, complete edge rusher in this draft. I think Laiatu Latu is the most polished edge rusher, the kid from UCLA, but he was forced to medically retire from the University of Washington because of neck injuries. He missed 2 full seasons with neck injuries.
Yeah, one of them was the COVID season, right?
Right.
Because he's played 2 seasons at UCLA since.
He had to medically retire and then got passed by the UCLA doctors to play there.
He transferred from Washington to UCLA.
But he's the most polished and complete guy in the class. He's got great hands. He's got like a chop move that's his go-to. He's got decent bend. Your guy Dallas Turner has better bend and athleticism on the outside to get around that outside shoulder for the tackle, but Latu has the motor, has athleticism, he's got speed and closing speed and all that. But I think people are going to be a little freaked out by the neck stuff, and Dallas Turner's athleticism might elevate him.
So Latu said that he's not getting a ton of it at the combine. And again, we'll hear more from Grody at 5.
A ton of the injury pushback?
Yeah, and listen, obviously I don't know, but he had spinal fusion surgery. Like, I know something about that. And Peyton Manning had it. Daniil Hunter had it. He went to the same surgeon that did theirs. And he's played 2 full college football seasons since he was forced to medically retire.
How'd you feel? Would you feel good about a clean bill of health?
He had 10.5 sacks in 2022 and 13 sacks last year and led all of college football in tackles for a loss last year. So if he's played 2 full seasons since he's had the surgery, I guess I don't know why it would be. I know why it would make him not a top 5 pick. But if the production is there and he's played 2 full seasons, it's not like he's coming off of it. You know, it's not like he missed his junior year and he's entering the draft with it being a question mark on if it can hold up. He's completed 2 seasons since he had the neck surgery. So I think he's going to get a clean bill of health, and I think he's going to be drafted in the between 10 and 20 in the first round of the draft.
There's some mocks that have him going to the Bears at 9.
Yeah.
There's some mocks that have Dallas Turner going to the Bears at 9. Dallas Turner doesn't have a lot of moves yet, supposedly. He's got that speed, he's got that bend, and the power he counters with when you're expecting him to use the speed and the bend. But you don't want an edge at 9. You wouldn't feel good about that.
I think that they all seem to have a flaw, which makes them not the top 5 prospect. And it's just, I think that what would happen for them if they got to 9, it would have to be that Neighbors, Odunze, and obviously Marvin Harrison are all off the board. They're totally locked in at Braxton Jones at left tackle, so they're not interested in tackle. They're worried about Brock Bowers' health. So, you know what I mean? Like, they don't think Brock Bowers is right there, and no one's willing to trade up. You know, I just think that there's a lot of things that would have to happen for them to actually take an edge at 9.
All those variables is why we do polls position every day at 3.
Trade down and take one of these guys.
Sure.
I think that's very, very in play. But stay at 9, take an edge rusher. I think that they would be disappointed by the outcome.
The third guy who gets talked about as maybe the best edge rusher in this draft is Jared Verse from Florida State. It was a really interesting story. He went to Albany, and then he transferred to Florida State. He's a 5th-year senior. He could have come out last year, decided to stay again.
Yeah.
And he's 6'4", he's 251. He is an adult. And he's super powerful and long. Did you hear this? He thinks he ought to be the top pick in the entire draft.
I think I'm a great player. I think that's ultimately for the teams to decide. I think I'm a great player. I think I've exemplified everything. I've showed everything I've had on the field. But like I said, I think the best players should be picked first. I definitely think I should, be considered. But at the end of the day, it's whatever the team needs.
So I think he's a guy who's got like a high floor, but not a dream ceiling. He's not a speed guy. And if I'm going for edge rusher high in the draft, I want somebody who might end up being my Micah Parsons or my Von Miller. I want an absolute game wrecker if I'm doing it that high.
Yeah,
or at least that ceiling possibility.
When I was watching videos and clips of him and searching his name on Twitter and just, again, not doing full video breakdowns for 30 minutes on each guy, but 10 minutes on each guy.
I'm not either, by the way.
But I'm just saying, I spent 40 minutes on this, you know what I mean, last night and today. So he had two plays that he had one against Louisville and one against Florida where, like, the power football in you, you just want, where the quarterback's left tackle sacked him. Like, I saw that play. He just bull rushes the tackle and pushes it back into the quarterback's lap.
Yeah.
And I mean, did it against Louisville, did it against Florida that I saw. And it's like, he doesn't even touch the quarterback. Because in college, you don't even need to. It's just like your knees down, you're down.
Right, he uses the offensive lineman to sack the quarterback.
It's crazy.
It strikes me as difficult to do in the NFL.
Yeah, but I mean, the bull rush is a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
In the NFL.
But it's really only a thing if they respect your speed rush.
Sure. You obviously have to have more. But yes, and he, to your point, 22-year-old guy, I don't know if the left tackle on Florida was 19. You know what I mean? Exactly. I didn't do that extra level that Ryan Poles would be doing and all of that. But he does have wow power. And there are guys, like, it'll be interesting to see when he does his workout.
Yeah.
Like, does he win? Does he have the biggest squat? Does he have the most reps on the bench press? Like, is he 20%, 10% stronger than the second guy in the class?
This is where we get to the profile thing for me. Because if you're Eberflus, do you want a defensive end who can rush the passer, but he can also set the edge? He also can defend the run by holding his own. Because
Jared Verse will be able to.
Jared Verse will be able to do that. He controls the matchup, is the way I saw it described at a couple different places, that he wins that matchup and controls it, whether he's getting by a guy or not. So, and this is where I admit what I want. And I referenced Micah Parsons. I referenced Von Miller. I dream of, on the opposite side of Montez Sweat, a super fast and athletic special guy. Because Montez is the full package as a D end. I want a guy, he knows it. I want a guy on the other side who scares the hell out of offensive coordinators and tackles, to the point that maybe they think about getting extra help out there, because this guy just can beat you around the edge every time. So he scares you. So that's why I find myself intrigued by guys a little further down the list. One guy further down the list, as opposed to Jared Verse. Give me Chop Robinson, man. If you trade down and go to Penn State and give me Chop Robinson, probably the best athlete at the position in this draft. Just first step, explosiveness, outside shoulder threat every single time. Needs to be taught some hand usage, needs to be taught some technique. But man, he has that burst that can beat anybody off the edge. And I am intrigued by that as a fit for this defense.
4 sacks last year.
Not as much production as you'd like.
I'm just saying, not that was the thing. And he's a little shorter than some of these guys.
I know.
So I think there's going to be some questions on exactly the type of system and can he set the edge.
I know.
He
probably can't.
So I'm just saying he's not 9.
No.
And I know you said trade down, but it is that is a. And so I guess I'd be, if they traded down far enough where I think he might be
15, 17, and they pick up a second round pick too, something like that.
And would you rather have him
or Keon Coleman, the wide receiver,
or Powers Johnson,
the center,
or the best center?
Mm-hmm.
I just, who has nobody, less premium position,
sure,
but virtual certainty that he's going to be a good pro.
What am I getting for Fields? Like what else am I getting?
You're getting Atlanta's second round pick. Which is I think 52.
Mm-hmm.
It's either 42 or 52. I think 52.
Well, this is when it becomes, well, maybe I love the wide receiver out of Texas. It's Adonai Mitchell, right?
Yep.
So maybe I love that guy, and I can get him in the second round and feel great about adding that as my second wide receiver at a deep position, and I don't have to worry about that in round one as I trade down.
The other thing about edge rushers...
Or are you like the center with Zach, who's your guy? Who met
Frazier from West Virginia.
Oh, Zach Frazier. I keep seeing tape on him, and he's popping. So
He's very impressive.
Maybe you like that guy in the second round, and you can get your edge rusher here. We're still getting more.
When I was covering NFL locker rooms every week in Kansas City, a guy that I was not friendly with, but close with was Tamba Hali. You remember him?
Yes, absolutely.
Great edge rusher, went to Penn State, real smart, cerebral dude. And I was there when the Chiefs selected Justin Houston. And I remember talking to him about it because one day after practice and training camp, they were the last two guys off the field. And Tamba Hali got really into martial arts, into like jiu-jitsu. And he was talking about how it helped him with his hands as he was like losing a step with his athleticism. He had to get smarter as an edge rusher, and he, hand techniques to be sure that the NFL freaking nature left tackles that had long arms would keep their hands off of him. And he was showing Justin Houston as a rookie those moves. He's like, the things that I learned 7 years into my career, 8 years, I wanted to teach it to Justin Houston. So some of these guys, it's kind of like NBA players that like,
you're drafting raw.
Yeah, and they come in, they don't have a jump shot because they're a better athlete than everybody that they've ever played against. So they can always get to the hole. So when people say like he's not a refined pass rusher, he doesn't have a counter move.
Don't let that freak you out.
It shouldn't. So
it's true of Dallas Turner too, by the way. That's why doesn't have a ton of moves.
That's why I named him first. Like I for edge rusher, I tend to go, and this is why we don't have all the data on this yet. Mm-hmm. Give me the best athlete.
That's my guy, Chop Robinson. That's why I'm smitten. This is from today. Tanny grabbed it. This is Chop Robinson describing himself as a player.
I'm definitely relentless. I try to be consistent with my hands, stay with low pad level, keep my hands inside their chest so no man can move me back. What they're getting out of me is a great guy who shows up every single day, gives everything they got, and trying to get better no matter what's going on. If I feel like I'm doing good, I'm always trying to find a way to get better.
So, look, man, I don't know. Like, you do this research and you fall for guys, right? I found myself falling for Chop.
Yeah, and so the clip that I'll send it to you during the break. The clip that I saw against Texas for Turner showed the motor. He had 10 sacks. He had 46 pressures, playing with better players at Alabama for sure. But he also had a monster freshman season, took a little bit of a step back last year in Will Anderson's huge year, then had a monster junior season. So crazy productive college player in the SEC, biggest level of college football, great motor, and also a very, very good athlete, very fast player.
Interesting.
So I see that what you're talking about. I also think that there is something there in Dallas Turner.
It's interesting. A texter makes an interesting point because I love the interconnectedness of like having the skills. We're talking about how a really good defensive end, you got to have the speed to make the bull rush work. We made the point to Eberflus yesterday, and he liked it about how Mahomes was able to run towards the end of the Super Bowl because you fear the surgeon in him just picking you apart. So they didn't spy him.
Right.
There's no spy, that kind of thing. And then he just runs because he's smart like that. Texter says, with Chop Robinson, Ben Johnson and the Lions are going to run it on 3rd and 5 because they're afraid of Sweat and then the speed rusher on the other side. And that maybe they make a choice. And of course, maybe not that directly, but the idea is that opposing offensive coordinators will fear the pass rush more with a relentless speed guy rusher on that edge, and it might affect their play calling. I love that part of the psychology of football.
I do too. I will just say, this is a very valuable exercise, and it's a premium position. I will just be floored, and maybe you say, "Hey, Danny, this is your bias." I'll be floored if that asset isn't offense. Like, we're going to do it. We're going to talk 3 technique. We're going to, what I mean? But
depends if they trade down and get multiple assets. Get multiple ways to do it.
But still, they need more help on offense than defense.
Uh-huh.
On some level, they're selling Caleb at the top of the draft. And so they need more premium assets on offense. They've given Matt Eberflus a lot. They've given him a expensive middle linebacker. They've given him an expensive edge rusher.
They're about to give him an expensive cornerback.
An expensive corner.
Giving him a big money middle linebacker.
That's what I'm saying. Top 50 picks at safety and corner and 3 technique. So they've given him a lot on that defense. I think they need to balance out some resources on the offensive side of the ball. So I don't think any of these edge rushing prospects are good enough that it'll be there. If it goes offense with the top 8 picks, and there's not a trade up candidate for a quarterback, that scenario where they get to take their top defensive player on the board, maybe. But outside of that, I would just be personally very surprised.
As I went deeper, I didn't find a potential second-round edge rusher that I fell in love with. Maybe from Alabama, Chris Braswell, who's got speed and strength but hasn't produced monster numbers. It's kind of like Chop.
I was going to say, let's see how Chop measures out, man. Like
Chop might be short enough that he ends up in the
there might not
second.
be enough production, and he might be short enough that he could fall.
God,
I could see him falling.
I'd love that if that second pick in the first is a wideout or is Bowers or is a tackle if they decided to, and then Chop or somebody that they love at an edge is there in round 2 for a Fields pick they get back.